Lego Batman is a game about a billionaire going round beating up the mentally ill. But what if we took one of those things away? That's right, today we are going to attempt to beat Lego Batman without collecting a single stud. But before we get into that, why don't you subscribe? I'm trying to reach 50,000 subscribers by the end of the year, and every subscriber helps. But first, what constitutes as collecting a stud? Well, at the end of every level, my stud count must remain at 0. I will of course try to avoid picking up any studs as much as possible, and if I do have to pick up a stud, I will throw Batman off the nearest bridge. We will also be completing this game in story mode, just because I felt like it. Lego Batman the video game starts off where all Batman media starts, in the city of Liverpool, and it is here on the very first level where we encounter our first challenge of this run. Playing on a mouse and keyboard. I want to talk to whatever masochistic fuck made these controls. What the hell is this? You to jump is just a disgrace, and whoever's responsible for this needs to be put on the sex offenders register. For my own sanity, I rebinded all my own keys just to make life easier. Initially when I started this challenge, it was a total no stud run at all, but then I ran into another problem. I immediately picked up a stud. Knowing it wouldn't be possible to beat this game studless, I swallowed my pride and changed the rules to what they are now, and I soldiered on, making my way through the first level, avoiding studs wherever possible and killing myself where not. However, I did manage to get jump scared by a blue stud. Oh! And then I learnt about this game's suit system. In order to progress through some of the areas of Lego Batman, you have to equip Batman's special birthday suits, and the one I had to use for this level had a special ability, destroying my eardrums whenever I used it. Oh, fuck me, that hurt my ears, Jesus! And then I had to go ahead and use Robert's special suit to control this little car, where I encountered my next problem. See this stud here? Well, it's completely impossible to avoid, so I was going to have to tank a death anyway. But then, the game gave me another issue. The car would not move. It was fully stuck, meaning I could not complete this level no matter how hard I tried. Fortunately, I made a major discovery. Thanks to my immense computer knowledge, I turned off VSync in the settings, and the car respected my epic gamer cool decision enough to move forward before encountering the man from Liverpool. Now, the boss fights are the most vital part of this challenge, since if I pick up any studs before landing the final hit, I would need to Alt F4 out of the game and replay the whole stage again. Thankfully, with the help of Robert, we managed to beat the everlasting fuck out of this scouser and beat the level with an overall death count of 22. The reason it was so high was because I kept throwing myself off the nearest bridge every single time I picked up a stud, so you could pretty much replace the death count with the stud count and it would basically be the same thing. Continuing on, we meet our next problem of the run, the Batcave. The Batcave is the one place where Batman can truly be himself, so when he picks up a stud, he wires it directly to his bank account through his anal cavity, meaning when he dies, the studs don't follow, leaving me with this permanent blemish on my total stud count. Thankfully, I reloaded my save and the stud count returned to 0, so we move on to level 2. I just need to remember to be extra careful every time I enter the Batcave. On level 2, we encounter our next antagonist, Mr. Freeze, and this guy always aims to freeze because he's chill like Bill. This level was pretty uneventful with us going through the motions and pretty much doing the same song and dance as we did before, dodging as many studs as possible, and when we couldn't, we threw ourselves off the nearest ledge. But on this level, I came up with a new tactic. The Batarang would be my new best friend for this run, since I can commit multiple counts of property damage from afar without picking up any money. With this newfound technique, Batman can continue to convince people he's not Bruce Wayne by leaving this pile of money for the people who really need it. The most notable thing about level 2 was Robert being forced to collect this blue stud, giving us another death, before we go and face the chillest man of them all and end the level with a total stud count of 0 and a death count of 42. And before you ask, no, I don't want to talk about it. Also, I just wanted to mention the Riddler is voiced by Doodlebob. I just wanted you all to know, since I can't unhear it now. Since level 2 was relatively short and painless, it only makes sense for it to be followed with the hardest level so far, level 3. The reason why level 3 was so tough was Batman decided to go grab a bottle of whiskey to mourn the death of his parents and then hop in the Batmobile, which controls worse than my nan's mobility scooter after 2 puffs of a meth pipe. On this level, the studs flowed like water into Mr. Wayne's bank account, but he started to feel something as his money was pouring in. Why do I deserve this money? What separates me from everybody else? and upon realising this, Batman pledged himself to communism and blew himself up, leaving all of his studs and worldly possessions behind. Unfortunately, Batman's newfound communist agenda did not change the fact that these vehicle controls are in fact worse than my shits after a curry, meaning I had to let Batman take more physical punishment than I would like to admit. After around 30 minutes on this level, we deliver all of the Riddler's gooning goons to the police and fight the Two-Face Goonmobile. This boss takes place in a relatively small arena, so I decided to make the executive decision to destroy everything in sight, before waiting 10 minutes so the goons could viciously murder Batman enough times that he becomes poor again. With this relatively unorthodox strategy, we managed to beat Two-Face's goons and complete this level with around 60 or so deaths. I would also like to mention, this whole challenge is being streamed over at twitch.tv/Whoie, so why don't you come on by to help me indoctrinate people into socialism. We continue on to level 4, where my assistant Robert, also known as YouTube commenter Buttered Crumpets 8434, starts breaking it down sexual style. If you want your spirit to possess Robert in the next episode, comment "Robert, Robert, I love thee, take my kidney and turn them to beans" in the comments below. Level 4 was another pretty uneventful level, where Batman uses his new sonic suit to assault as many minimum wage workers as possible, and Robert uses his sucky suit to suck off all the dirt on the ground. This whole level was pretty by the numbers. We just picked up some studs and threw ourselves off a cliff before repeating 50 times and facing off against the bosses of this level, Audrey 3 and your mum, after a couple of pints of Stella. Now, Batman is not only a generous man who leaves all of his money for those who needs it, but he is also a gentleman who would never raise his hand to a woman. Robert, however, is a sick fuck degenerate who is just looking for any excuse, and he finished this level on our behalf with a total stud count of 0 and a death count of 55. Now, you may be asking, why is my death count so high when I'm going out of my way to avoid every single stud I can? Well, my young viewer, it's because sometimes when Batman dies, Bruce Wayne fights back for control in hopes to get some of his studs back. He then teleports this stud back into Batman's bank account, but thanks to Batman's indomitable will, he usually manages to get the number back to 0. We then continue on to the final level of this world, level 5, which is already an awesome level since it refers to the hit Nick Cage film Face Off. Unfortunately, this awesomeness doesn't last for long, since partway through the level we were hit with another bug. When we're supposed to take this lift up to the bank, it just refuses to work. I genuinely don't know how this happened, but I'm going to assume it was all Robert's fault, so we had to restart the level. After many more grueling accidental stud collections and deaths, we made it to the top of the bank, where we had a scrap with Two-Face, and we keep picking up the same stud upon death. Seriously, this is exactly what I was referring to when I said Bruce Wayne was fighting back for control. This one stud just would not leave my bank account. I was killing Batman off for about 10 minutes straight until finally it left our bank account. We then moved forward into the Doodle Bob boss fight, where I encountered my next problem. I accidentally picked up another stud here, and in the second part of this fight, it turns out the Riddler has some stormtrooper ass aim and completely failed to hit a stationary target. After 2 whole minutes of standing still, the Riddler finally managed to off Batman, but for that poor performance, Batman was going to go beat this mentally ill man into a pulp. And once it was all said and done, we beat level 5 with 0 studs total and 70 deaths, giving us a current death total of 249. In the end, we finally managed to complete the first of 3 worlds, with Batman echoing my own feelings towards Robert. Fuck you, Robert. Now, I would continue into the second world, but YouTube values upload consistency, so I'll be back in a couple days with the next part. I hope to see you all there, guys, and don't forget to subscribe or I'll be there.